dear students, myself Gangadhar Solanke, and I welcome you all to the MCGM's virtual classroom. My dear students, today in Standard 7's History, we'll be starting the topic An Ideal Ruler. In 7th Standard's History, we're studying about history of medieval India, and in our last chapter, the administration of the Swaraj, we people discussed about how efficient the administration of the Swaraj was and how Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj established his rule or his Swaraj for the betterment of people, and there were different ministers for different work in the Ashtapradhan Mandal. Now in this topic we are going to discuss about the qualities of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and how he was different than the other rulers of that period of that time, and that is why we are today also studying about him. So our today's topic is an ideal ruler. Before the foundation of Swaraj, Maharashtra was under the domination of the Adil Shahi, Siddhi, Portuguese and Mughal powers. Now just think about it. Before the foundation of Swaraj, स्वराज का फाउंडेशन लेड होने के पहले, स्वराज बनने से पहले, ये सारी जो रूलिंग पावर्स थी वो महाराष्ट्र में थी. इट वाज अंडर द डोमिनेशन ऑफ आदिल शाही, हियर यू कैन सी, देन सिद्धि, पोर्तुगीज एंड मुगल पावर्स. Shivaji Maharaj struggled against these powers. Shivaji Maharaj struggled against Adil Shahi, struggled against Mughal powers, struggled against Portuguese, struggled against Siddhis. He faced all kinds of adverse circumstances. He founded an independent and sovereign Swaraj. He set up a system for the administration of the Swaraj, and about that in detail we people learnt in the last chapter. Now how Shivaji Maharaj turned Swaraj into a Surajya, that is what, a kingdom that sought the welfare of all. There was no any kind of discrimination on the basis of caste or on the basis of religion or on the basis of the people of different geographical areas or of different region, and that is why Swarajya was for all, and it became Surajya because of the Shivaji Maharaj's policy. Maharaj created a new order with his capability, and in the course of the conflict for the founding of the Swaraj, he himself had to face many grave dangers, and about that also we people learned events like the meeting with the Afzal Khan. जब रैत को ऐसा लगता था कि अब शिवाजी महाराज नहीं रहेंगे, अफजल खान शिवाजी महाराज को मार सकते हैं या फिर मार देंगे, बिकॉज अफजल खान was that much strong and with the huge army. The siege of Panala, then the attack on Shaiste Khan, the escape from Agra, all involved a great amount of risk. Shivaji Maharaj emerged successful in all these events. No harm came to him. ये सारी चीज़ें अगर देखेंगे हम, ये सारे इंसिडेंट अगर हम देखेंगे तो इन सब में से बच के आना उतना ईजी नहीं था. इट वॉज नॉट दैट मच ईजी. अफजल खान के साथ या फिर पनाला के सीज में जब वो अटक गए थे फॉर नियर अबाउट 4 months, देन द अटैक ऑन शाइस्ते खान, या फिर आगरा में जब वो गए थे और वहाँ पर उन्हें बंदी बना लिया गया था, इन सारी चीज़ों से बाहर निकलना उतना ईजी नहीं था. बट he emerged successful in all these events and no harm came to him. Shivaji Maharaj could establish Swaraj due to his loyal and dedicated associates who were not only brave but loyal also. So here you can see what we are going to study in our today's topic: organizational skill, caring for Rayat, policy regarding the army, a policy of tolerance, the inspiration for freedom, and the greatness of Maharaj's work. Now, because of all these points, Shivaji Maharaj became different than others. Or today we are studying him as an ideal ruler because of his organizational skill. उनके organizational skill इतने बढ़िया थे कि उनके पास सिर्फ brave soldiers नहीं थे, all soldiers were loyal. Then the caring for Rayat, policy regarding the army, a policy of tolerance which was very unique for that particular period, and today also we're talking about that. Then the inspiration for freedom, he not only established his own Swaraj, but he inspired other kings and other people for the freedom. And then the different people talked about the greatness of Shivaji Maharaj. Now here the first point, organizational skill. As we learned in the beginning that Shivaji Maharaj at the age of 16 started making friends for the cause of Swaraj. So Maharaj inspired the people around him to work for the Swaraj. Not only he collected the friends or he made friends, but he inspired them for the Swaraj. His organizational skill was unparalleled. The word is very important. With this skill, he drew around himself brave people who were extremely loyal. Not only brave, but extremely loyal to him. These close associates of Maharaj performed their duty even by risking their own lives. And many examples are there in the history of Shivaji Maharaj where people gave their life for the Shivaji Maharaj or to protect him. If we go for the examples, then the first one, Jiva Mahala, who killed Bada Sayyid at a critical moment during the meeting with Afzal Khan. Here on the screen you can see, और इसलिए ऐसा कहा भी जाता है कि था जीवा इसलिए बचा शिवा, because of जीवा Shiva was saved. Shiva Kasid, then who crossed the seas of Panalgarh in the disguise of Shivaji Maharaj. Then Baji Prabhu Deshpande, who blocked the advances of the enemy on the way of Vishalgarh. Murar Baji Deshpande, who defended the fort of Purandar. Tanaji Malusare, who sacrificed his life while conquering Sinhagad. Hiroji Farzand and Madari Mehtar, who risked their lives during the escape of Maharaj from Agra. Now about all these companions of Shivaji Maharaj, you people studied in detail in the 4th standards history how everyone in the Swaraj gave their life and sacrificed many things for the Swaraj and for the Shivaji Maharaj. Kanoji Jede was associated with Maharaj in the work of the Swaraj from the very beginning. Now we are talking about how Shivaji Maharaj took great care of his associates, and that is why all the associates of Shivaji Maharaj were very loyal to him, loyal to Swaraj. When the aging Kanoji fell ill, Maharaj told him not to neglect his medicines or treatment on any account. So here, one of the very important skill or the friendship bond of Shivaji Maharaj with his companions, we can see, जैसे बाकी राजाएं थे उनको अपने सोल्जर्स के बारे में उतनी पड़ी हुई नहीं थी, किसी भी एक लड़ाई में जाना है, लड़ाई जीतना है, यहाँ तक ही उनका रिलेशन सीमित था. But here, by these examples we can understand that Shivaji Maharaj took great care of his soldiers also. Here on the screen you can see warriors of Shivaji Maharaj. Heavily outnumbered, Tanaji Malusare conquered the mission at the cost of his own life. And the caring for the Rayat. Now, not only for the soldiers, but for the Rayat, Shivaji Maharaj cared a lot. While establishing the Swaraj, Maharaj had to constantly struggle against his enemies. Shivaji Maharaj, you can see, was constantly struggled against his enemies. Now enemies in this we have आदिल शाही, सिद्दी, पोर्तुगीज और मुगल पावर्स. इनमें से किसी एक के साथ अगर लड़ना होता तो शायद उतनी लड़ाइयाँ उन्हें नहीं करनी पड़ती थी, बट महाराष्ट्र वॉज अंडर द डोमिनेशन ऑफ द आदिल शाही, सिद्दी, पोर्तुगीज एंड मुगल पावर्स. तो इन सब के साथ लड़ना पड़ता था, तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा उनका वक्त जो है वो लड़ाई में जाता था. So while establishing the Swaraj, Maharaj had to constantly struggle against his enemies. He used to take utmost care. He used to take utmost care to protect the Rayat. At the time of Shaiste Khan's campaign, at the time of Shaiste Khan's campaign, Maharaj warned the Deshmukh of the Rohida Valley not to fail in his duty towards the Rayat. जब शाइस्ते खान ने अपना कैंपेन स्वराज्य की तरफ चलाया तो शिवाजी महाराज ने वहाँ के जो देशमुख थे रोहिडा वैली के, उनको वार्न किया कि अपनी ड्यूटी करने में कोई भी कसर नहीं करनी है, रैयत को तकलीफ हो ऐसा कुछ नहीं करना है. He told Deshmukh to visit every village. What he told? Visit every village and shift people to a safe place down the ghats. He strictly told him not to delay even for a moment. Now here we are talking about the king who took utmost care of his wrath. He further warned the Deshmukh that if he did not thus take care of the wrath, the Mughal army would take the people prisoner and then it would be seen as the Deshmukh's doing. So try to understand here. देशमुख को वार्न किया है कि अगर वो लोगों की हेल्प नहीं करेगा, उन्हें वक्त पे अगर रोहिडा वैली में सेफ जगह पे नहीं लेकर जाएगा, तो ऐसा समझा जाएगा कि इसमें देशमुख का फॉल्ट है. Maharaj also saw to it that the soldiers did not in any way cause any harm to the Rayat. Now not only for the opposite parties soldiers or army, Shivaji Maharaj also warned his soldiers that not to hurt or harm any Rayat of any region or of any area. Now the next one, policy regarding the army. Maharaj maintained a strict discipline in the army. He was particular about paying the salaries of the army in time. Now this was the new and the different thing for the soldiers of that period. किसी भी राजा की तरफ से कैश सैलरी नहीं दी जाती थी, but शिवाजी महाराज started giving salaries to the army in cash and also in time. In various kingdoms in medieval India and elsewhere, there was a system of making payments to soldiers in the form of jagirs. जागीर दी जाती थी. कोई एरिया अगर किसी आर्मी ने सोल्जर्स ने जीता है तो वो एरिया उनको दिया जाता था, वहाँ की जागीर उन्हें दी जाती थी. तो क्या होता था, जिन सोल्जर्स को वो जागीर दी गई है वहाँ के लोगों को वो और ज़्यादा लूटने का काम करते थे, उनका शोषण करते थे इकोनॉमिकली, या फिर उनसे ज़्यादा टैक्सेस जो है वो वसूल करते थे. बट हियर शिवाजी महाराज स्टॉप दैट एंड स्टार्टेड पेइंग सैलरीज ऑफ द आर्मी इन टाइम एंड इन कैश. Maharaj set this practice aside and there was a strict order to the army that any valuables collected during the campaigns in enemy territories were to be deposited with the government to the Swaraj. Soldiers were honored for their bravery in a campaign, and because of this soldiers were very much into the bravery. He looked after the maintenance of the families of soldiers who died in battle. This was again the different and the unique thing for the people or for the soldiers of that period. इतनी केयर कोई और राजा अपने लोगों की नहीं रखता था. Looked after the maintenance of the families of soldiers who died in battle. He took care of the wounded soldiers. He treated well the enemy soldiers who had surrendered themselves or who had been captured. Now this one again made him the different king of that period. बाकी जगहों पे क्या होता था, अगर कोई सोल्जर सरेंडर भी करते थे तो उन्हें मार दिया जाता था या फिर उनका उतना ख्याल नहीं रखा जाता था. बट हियर he was very kind to the enemy soldiers also. So he treated well the enemy soldiers who had surrendered themselves or who had been captured. One more thing about Shivaji Maharaj's army or about his ideal rule. If war broke out during the period of sowing, growing, reaping of crops, there would be no limit to the loss of farmers. Not only would the movements of army interfere with the work of sowing, but the soldiers would cut off and take away standing crops or would destroy them. They would rob the house of farmers, and this was very bad thing for the farmers because they worked hard for their crops. The letter written by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj in 1674 C to his military officers is very important in this regard, and today also that letter has the importance because in today's scenario also the farmers are not that much happy or not doing well because of many things. So that today also this letter is the guide for the government and for the people who rule the country. If you harass and trouble the subjects belonging to different castes by robbing them of their grains, fodder, grass, vegetables, etc., those subjects would leave their houses and migrate elsewhere. Many of them would starve to death. It would be as if you are more atrocious than the Mughals. There would be great uproar. So this was the thing Shivaji Maharaj took care about farmers. Now the next one, a policy of tolerance. Again, I'll repeat the same thing in today's time also. All the things or all the policies of Shivaji Maharaj are very relevant with the time, and today we need this, the policy of tolerance. Maharaj had to struggle against his enemies, the Adil Shah, the Mughals, and the Siddhis. Now, if we go through the people of that period or the struggle of Shivaji Maharaj against his enemies, then there were Islamic powers, Adil Shah, the Mughals, and the Siddhis. While Maharaj struggled against them, he considered the Muslim in the Swaraj as his own subjects. There was no any kind of prejudice in his mind, though he was fighting against the Mughals, Adil Shah, and the Siddhis. At the time of the meeting with Afzal Khan, Siddhi Ibrahim was a trusted servant in his army. वो अफजल खान को मिलने जा रहे थे और उनकी जो ट्रस्टेड आर्मी थी, उनके जो बॉडीगार्ड्स थे, उनमें सिद्दी इब्राहिम was a trusted servant. Then Siddhi Hilal was a Sardar in the army of Maharaj. Daulat Khan, very important name, was an important officer in the Navy of the Swaraj. So there was no discrimination on the basis of religion or on the basis of caste. Maharaj followed a tolerant religious policy, and that is why today also we are remembering him, and in that period also he was different, he was unique because of all these skills or of his policies. In the enemy territories that he conquered, he continued the facilities that had been given to the Muslim places of worship. उन्होंने उसे स्टॉप नहीं किया, जैसे वो चल रहा था वैसे ही उसे चलने दिया. His contemporary historian Kafi Khan writes about the tolerant religious policy of Maharaj. इसने लिखा है काफी खान ने about the tolerant policy of Shivaji Maharaj. Shivaji had framed strict rules from his soldiers that during the campaigns they should not harm a mosque. If they came in possession of a copy of the Holy Quran, they should hand over the same with reverence to a Muslim. So, because of all these things, I'm repeating this thing again and again because of all his policies and because of his policy of tolerance. Today also we are remembering द शिवाजी महाराज, और कुछ सालों के बाद भी हम उन्हें याद करेंगे क्योंकि उन्होंने जो पॉलिसीज़, उन्होंने जो एग्जाम्पल रखे हैं, all these examples and the policies are relevant with the time and of great humanity. So we need it. कितना भी हम आगे जाएंगे फिर भी हमें ये चाहिए. The inspiration for freedom. The next point. Inspiration for freedom. The efforts that Maharaj made to establish the Swaraj have a special value. Now, why it has special value? Because at that time, at that period, no one was thinking about to start his own Swaraj or about to start a fight against all these powers. क्योंकि लड़ना है तो किसी एक के साथ नहीं लड़ना पड़ता है. सिद्दीस थे, मुगल्स थे, पोर्तुगीज़ थे, इन सब के साथ लड़ना है तो इससे अच्छा किसी के साथ हाथ मिलाते थे और दूसरे के साथ दुश्मनी ले लेते थे. लेकिन अलग होके अपना खुद का राज्य बनाने के बारे में कोई भी नहीं सोच रहा था. It is the value of freedom, and Shivaji Maharaj aimed at establishing and maintaining an independent and sovereign existence that did not accept the dominance of any other power. And that is why that was having a special value in the medieval Indian history. While struggling against the foreign powers, Maharaj inspired others too for freedom. उन्होंने सिर्फ अपना स्वराज स्टार्ट नहीं किया, but he inspired other people also to start the work or to talk about the freedom. When Chhatrasal, who was in the service of the Mughals, came to see Maharaj, Maharaj inspired him to create an independent kingdom in Bundelkhand. So he started and other people started walking on his way. That's why Swaraj have a special value in the medieval Indian history. Next one, greatness of Maharaj's work. Maharaj established Swaraj while fighting against many enemies. Now we talked about this. This action itself proves that he was a pioneer of a new era. This word is very important. He was a pioneer of a new era. But besides this action, many other noble qualities are found in his personality. क्यों हम उन्हें याद कर रहे, क्यों आज भी मिडिल इंडियन हिस्ट्री में सबसे ग्रेट किंग शिवाजी महाराज को कहा जाता है, या फिर बाकी जो राजाएं थे उनसे वो अलग थे? बिकॉज ऑफ हिज क्वालिटीज, बिकॉज ऑफ हिज पर्सनालिटी, बिकॉज ऑफ हिज पॉलिसीज. Maharaj was very intelligent. He had mastered many arts. And for doing this, Jizabai and Shahaji Raje took effort. He was conversant with many languages and scripts. The teaching of his parents towards the establishment of Swaraj and ethics were deeply instilled in his mind. So the role of Jizabai and Shahaji Raje was very, very, very important in the foundation of Swaraj or in giving the teachings or ethics to the Shivaji Maharaj. There was a blend of character and strength, nobility and valor in his personality. So intelligent, then had mastered many arts, conversant with many languages and scripts at that time. Just think about this. Then blend of character and strength, nobility and valor in his personality. He had innumerable qualities like leadership, management, foresight, political diplomacy, effective policy about regional and military administration, commitment to truth and justice, attitude of equality, visualization of future activities, the skill of seeing his planned ventures through, rising over the calamities without giving up, alertness, vigilance, and many more. Here on the screen, you can see the qualities of Shivaji Maharaj, and because of all these things, because of all these qualities, he was different than others. He used to punish those severely who would misbehave with women, and that is why also today we are remembering him. He used to take care of all sections of the society like farmers, craftsmen, soldiers, traders, merchants, etc. किसी एक को कुछ ज़्यादा मिल रहा है और किसी एक को कम मिल रहा है, ऐसा स्वराज में नहीं था. ही यूज्ड टू टेक केयर ऑफ ऑल सेक्शंस इक्वली. सबका एक ही तरह से ख्याल रखा जाता था, चाहे वो फार्मर्स हो, क्राफ्ट्समैन हो, सोल्जर्स हो, ट्रेडर्स हो या फिर मर्चेंट्स हो. He used to harbor the same respect. He used to harbor the same respect for people of other religions that he had for people of his own religion without any discrimination. इसीलिए तो हमने देखा दौलत खान है, मदारी मेहतर है, सिद्दी इब्राहिम है, सिद्दी हिलाल है, ये लोग उनके लिए इसी वजह से काम करते थे विद द लॉयल्टी, क्योंकि उनके मन में कोई भेदभाव नहीं था. He even established family bonds with them. He brought back into Swadham, their original religion, persons who had converted to another religion, though there was an opposition to such reconversion at that time. Then also he did that. At the time, there was opposition on religious grounds to crossing the seas. Religious बुक्स में ऐसा लिखा गया था कि समुद्र को पार करना अच्छी चीज़ नहीं है, इट्स लाइक बैड थिंग. इट ही बिल्ट सी फोर्ट्स लाइक सिंधुदुर्ग एंड क्रिएटेड अ नेवी. इसलिए उन्हें हम फादर ऑफ इंडियन नेवी कहते हैं. दिस मीन्स दैट ही हैड मेड प्रिपरेशन फॉर काउंटरिंग फॉरेन इन्वेजन्स दैट केम फ्रॉम द सी. ही वॉज द फर्स्ट किंग who crossed the sea or started his own navy. He became the ruler of Swaraj officially through his coronation. He later had a second coronation from a different religious perspective. And all these actions show his revolutionary aspects in the field of religion. So not only in the field of, or not only on the battlefield, or not only for the farmers या फिर मर्चेंट्स है, इन सब लोगों के लिए ही नहीं बल्कि रिलीजियस थिंग्स में भी उन्होंने बहुत काम किया है, एंड विच वॉज रिवोल्यूशनरी. When there were threats to Swaraj, he would face them with or without his associates. And due to this, even his associates were ready to sacrifice their lives for Swaraj. Of course, his greatness was not confined to the quality of facing calamities bravely and fearlessly. He wanted to have an ethical, qualitative base to the Swaraj. Now again, these two words are very important. Why Swaraj is different, or why Swaraj was different than other kingdoms? Because the base of the Swaraj was ethical and qualitative. उन्होंने ये ध्यान में रखा कि इथिक्स और क्वालिटी ये दोनों चीज़ें होनी चाहिए. दैट इज़ वाई ही वुड गिव ऑर्डर्स इवन रिगार्डिंग माइनर इश्यूज अलॉन्ग विद द इम्पॉर्टेंट वंस. जितनी बड़ी बड़ी चीज़ें, जितने बड़े बड़े काम उन्होंने किए, उतनी ही छोटी छोटी चीज़ों पर भी ध्यान दिया. द ऑर्डर दैट प्रोहिबिटेड सोल्जर्स फ्रॉम टेकिंग वेजिटेबल्स फ्रॉम द फील्ड्स ऑफ द पीजेंट्स बाय फोर्स इज एग्जम्पटरी फ्रॉम दिस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. अपने सैनिकों को ये आज्ञा दी थी कि किसी भी फार्मर के खेत में से वेजिटेबल उसके बिना परमिशन के नहीं लेना है, उसे हाथ नहीं लगाना है, और अगर आपको लेना भी है तो उसके बदले में उन्हें उसका मुआवजा देना है. ऐसा उस वक्त कोई सोच भी नहीं सकता था, क्योंकि लड़ाई के वक्त तो ये सारी लूट मात होती रहती थी. बट शिवाजी महाराज वॉज डिफरेंट देन all others. The restrictions on the cutting of trees enforced by him are also noteworthy. Now, today, we people are talking about the global warming and about the tree plantation programs. But this was very important thing that Shivaji Maharaj at that period stopped cutting of trees. On the screen, you can see the letter. He had ordered that the garbage on the fort should be burnt in an allotted space without dumping it elsewhere. So he was not only taking care of the wreath, but he was taking care of the trees and of the vegetables of the farmers. It becomes clear from this fact that he would pay close attention to the minutest detail while establishing Swaraj. He was not just a warrior but also a sculptor. Again, this one is very important. He was not just a warrior but also a sculptor who created a new, independent, ethical, and cultured society. Why we are studying about Shivaji Maharaj? Why we are remembering him after this much time? Because he created a new, independent, ethical, and cultured society. His greatness is comprehensive, not in any once, but it was comprehensive. On the screen, you can see the qualities: enthusiasm, valor, perseverance, devotion, spirituality, sacrifice, success, truth, knowledge, generosity, prosperity, courage, celebration, strength, fearlessness, skill, wisdom, bravery, determination, and spirit. Now, if we talk about our national movement, Maharaj was a great source of inspiration. And Mahatma Jyotirao Phule described in his Povadas the greatness of Shivaji Maharaj. Mahatma Jyotirao Phule composed a Povada in 1869 CE on Shivaji Maharaj. A part of it is there on the screen. In that he wrote, शिवाचा गजर जयनामाचा झेंडा रोविला. शिवाचा गजर जयनामाचा झेंडा रोविला. क्षेत्र्याचा मेळा मावळ्याचा शिकार खेळला. मातेपायी ठेवी डोई गर्व नाही काळीचा. आशीर्वाद घेई आईचा. आलाबला घेई आवडता होतो जिजीचा. आलाबला घेई आवडता होतो जिजीचा. पवाडा गातो शिवाजीचा. कुळवाडी भूषण पवाडा गातो भोसल्याचा. छत्रपती शिवाजीचा. So Mahatma Phule wrote about Shivaji Maharaj in his Povada. In our national movement, Maharaj was a great source of inspiration in his struggle for equality, like Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, who composed Povada on the greatness of Shivaji Maharaj. Lokmanya Tilak brought about national awakening through the medium of Shiv Jayanti celebrations. Then Lala Lajpat Rai has written a book about greatness of Maharaj. On the screen you can see. The great Tamil poet Subramanyam Bharati has written a poem about an imaginary incident in which Shivaji Maharaj talks to his associates. Then Vishwakavi Rabindranath Tagore has written a long poem on Maharaj. Tagore sees his efforts to found Swaraj as efforts for realizing a noble cause. Then Sir Jagannath Sarkar has praised his achievements in his book Shivaji and His Times. Not only this, but Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru had said that Maharaj did not belong to Maharashtra alone. शिवाजी महाराज सिर्फ महाराष्ट्र के नहीं है या फिर वो सिर्फ महाराष्ट्र को बिलोंग नहीं करते हैं. What he said, Maharaj did not belong to Maharashtra alone. He belonged to the whole Indian nation. He was a symbol of many virtues, more especially of love of country. So not only in Marathi language but in all Indian languages have works that talk about him as an ideal ruler, as an ideal ruler and a source of inspiration. Please subscribe the channel and press bell icon to get notifications. So my dear ones, this is all for today. Thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe, take care.